G'day guys, my name is CJ. I hope everyone is staying safe indoors and washing their hands. I love smartwatches and wearables, and I've done a bunch of reviews looking at different brands and models. Check them out if you haven't seen them already. But unfortunately, none of them have ever quite matched the gold standard that is the Apple Watch for refinement and quality. Until now, maybe. I've been using the Galaxy Watch Active 2 with LTE for the past few months, and we're just going to try answer the question, just how close does this watch get to being an Apple Watch for Android? Well, let's take a look and see if it's worth your lockdown quarantine dollars. Let's get started. So let's talk about design, because a watch is first and foremost, for most people, an accessory. Something to complete a look, whether it be in a professional setting for work or going out to dinner. Put simply, aside from telling the time, it's got to look good doing so. And frankly, Samsung's done a great job. The version 2 looks identical to the version 1 model, and that's a good thing. You can get them in either 40 or 44mm sizes, and it comes in an elegant round aluminium or stainless steel enclosure with a jet black screen that subtly curves into the sides. The stainless steel casing for me does give it an extra level of elegance and helps make it look and feel more like a traditional watch with premium materials. It takes standard 20mm watch straps with quick release pins, so it's super customizable for all the fashionistas out there. And the aluminium version comes with a standard silicone strap, whereas the stainless steel version comes with a leather strap, which feels nice, soft and supple. But I've switched mine out for a tan leather strap, which I think gives it a pop of color and flair. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. On the side, there's two nice and clicky buttons that are customizable, and of course you have expected features like IP68 with 5 atmosphere waterproofing, GPS, heart rate sensing, a barometer, and NFC as standard for Samsung Pay. On top of that, it can also track sleep. Like the Apple Watch, the Active 2 also has an inbuilt ECG feature to detect abnormal heart rhythms. Though at the time of shooting this video, there's still no actual time frame for when this feature will be activated. As a general rule, people shouldn't buy products with the promise of future updates, so don't buy the Active 2 just because it may or may not get ECG tracing in the future. Now moving on, the screen, as you would expect from Samsung, is really nice. It's a circular 360 by 360 pixel OLED display, and it melts in seamlessly with the bezel. You can't even tell where the screen ends and the bezel starts. The screen's perfectly visible in broad daylight, looking vibrant and colorful, but really it's all about the smooth round edges and ergonomics. It's a seamless experience as you swipe around the screen, not only when swiping between widgets and modules, but also when you're using and interacting with the touch-sensitive bezel to navigate the UI, a welcome feature adopted from the original Galaxy Gear watches. Now speaking of the UI, it sits on top of Samsung's own Tizen OS, powered by a tried and tested Exynos chip that's also present in the version 1 of the Active and also the Galaxy Watch. It has 768 megs of RAM in the standard models, and you double that for those with LTE. All of this hardware adds up to an experience that's super smooth, super quick, with no real instances of lag once you're up and running. Swiping between screens and widgets is responsive and intuitive, and it's probably why Google borrowed some ideas for their own Wear OS. It also comes with Bixby baked in, which is something, I guess. And like the phone version, I didn't really use it all that much, but it is there when you can't focus on swiping like when exercising. Now speaking of which, I probably should touch on the LTE capability. The stainless steel version has an option to come with LTE, so you don't need to have your phone on you when going for a jog or swim. In Australia, you'll need a plan that supports having a number share feature attached, and if it's not already included, often you'll have to pay extra for this. For me, being an Optus, it meant an extra $5 per month. So do consider this extra ongoing cost on top of the extra money you already have to pay in order to get LTE in the first place. But once you've got that running, it's still not as simple as just leaving the phone at home and you've got full functionality of the watch There's really no consistent pattern to which apps can or can't work independently. I mean, Spotify works, Here Maps, their mapping alternative works, Bixby works, but then the weather app doesn't. It ends up being a bit of a trial and error to find out which one does or doesn't. Ultimately though, the watch still has to connect to your phone to access features like messaging. When it tries to do so, it tries to connect remotely, and a lot of the time, it takes a little too long and messages don't actually send. Fortunately, one core feature that does work is phone calls, but you'll either need to have Bluetooth headphones or be content with the inbuilt speaker and mic, which, in a pinch, it works alright. Voice quality is unsurprisingly average as the receiver, but the speaker does get sufficiently loud when you're outdoors. At least enough to tell the caller you're away from the phone and you'd call them back later. I mean, don't be that guy in public having a conversation on loudspeaker. You'll look even weirder talking into a watch as well. So overall, LTE is a useful feature to have, but certainly not essential and not for the added cost. What doesn't work quite as well as I first thought though is the touch bezel. Now don't get me wrong, this is literally my favorite feature in all Galaxy watches from days past. In principle, it makes so much sense, but practically speaking though with the Active 2, I'm not sure what's going on, but the sensitivity is either too high or not high enough. And sometimes it wouldn't detect my finger and I'd have to touch it repeatedly in order to activate it. I also often had to do small corrections back and forth before it landed on the right button or widget. Sometimes I just resorted to swiping instead. It's definitely less accurate compared to the physical bezel seen in older watches, and it's not amazing, but it's also not terrible either, and for me, it's certainly not a deal breaker. In this case, I'd much rather a sleeker design that works for the most part than a fatter, chunkier watch. I mean, that's what the Galaxy Watch is for, and at least if it annoys you enough, you can still disable the feature entirely. Now something else to note is that if you don't own a Samsung phone, you'll actually need to sideload a bunch of apps and plugins to get things fully featured and working. Overall, there's no major differences in features between devices and Samsung phones, and you still get notifications, call alerts, Samsung Pay. You just have to jump through a few more hoops to get there. And then when it comes to apps, I mean, there's an okay variety on the App Store, but you can really tell that developers haven't jumped on board, and probably won't since Tizen's been out for years now. That being said, there's an overwhelming library of third-party watch face apps, so at least you'd be set for customizability. Official Spotify support is there as well, and that's great, but generally speaking, there's not much first-party app support. Dig around and you'll probably be able to find some form of an app for whatever purposes you might need, but it'll mostly be third-party jobs with imperfect implementations for services. Plus, there are obviously apps that have been forgotten and haven't been updated for years. One such app is the Uber app, which is pretty important, but it hasn't been updated to support newer active models, and when you try to load it, it just sits there loading forever and ever, or if you can get into the app, it doesn't really work. And then of course fitness. We're locked down and should have something to help track how much or how little exercise we're doing. I mean, it's an active watch, right? Honestly, there's nothing groundbreaking here when comparing to other smartwatches, and it's perfectly usable for the majority of casual users. You can track swimming as an added feature, and because of that, it's got an inbuilt water locking feature that can eject water that might have gone into the speakers. Kind of like what the Apple Watch does now. In reality, Samsung's fitness apps are actually quite good, and they can sync with other services as well. Though one thing holding it back maybe is its inaccurate steps and distance tracking from some reports. So I'd use it more as an overview rather than a super accurate pound for pound fitness tracking device. If that's what you're looking for, maybe look at the Garmin, Misfit and Fitbit devices instead. Now, like a little angel whispering into your ear, it'll also buzz you to stand up and move around if you've been a little bit sedentary sitting around for too long. And like the Apple Watch, it'll intermittently get you to do breathing exercises as part of general mindfulness and meditation. Actually, it's an underrated and thoughtful and helpful feature in these pretty uncertain and stressful times, especially for those with pre-existing mental health issues like anxiety and depression. I think we all need to take a few minutes out of the day just to breathe. Now, the Achilles heel of smartwatches has always been battery life, with majority being maybe maximum at best single day devices. This is especially seen in cheaper options like the TicWatch. The Active 2 is easily a 2-day battery life smartwatch with the advantage of supporting wireless charging, but with one caveat that it only works with specific devices like Samsung's own battery packs or Samsung phones with reverse wireless charging. I don't know if I was doing something wrong, but I couldn't get it working with any old wireless charger, and instead I had to use it with the bundled charging dock. In general, it's a super convenient feature to have, but I didn't actually find myself needing to use it all that much since it tended to last long enough to get home and charge it properly. Now, if you use the always on display and LTE on its own, of course it'll drain quicker. But in most scenarios, it's actually really capable of consistently achieving 2-day or even longer longevity. Battery life has always been a strength of Samsung's wearables, and I'm happy to say the trend continues with the Active 2, and that's a really big tick in my book. Overall, the Galaxy Watch Active 2 is a beautifully made, elegant and really capable smartwatch. It's highly customizable as well, and it can complement most, if not all, outfits and looks. It's a really well-rounded package that, in my view, gets the closest to matching the Apple Watch for refinement. The only disadvantage it's got is that it's app support, and that could be a deal breaker for some. For me though, it nails all the core features expected of a smartwatch. So is it worth the money? You probably could do without the LTE version, but I'm certain you'll be happy with the standard version. So if you're an Android user, gonna be my pick of the bunch as the all-round package. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think there are better alternatives out there? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and ding the bell icon so you don't miss out on any updates. Hope you're all staying safe, we'll do all our parts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Say good day to mum for me. Cheers. Keep washing those hands, guys. Catch you later.